Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravana Chari Yamuna Tiravana Chari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Krishna Balaram Krishna Balaram Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram Jaya Nityananda Ram Nityananda Ram Nityananda Ram Jaya Nityananda Ram Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Shri Shri Radha Radhanath Ki Jai Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ki Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Nitai Gaura Premanande Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for coming out today to listen to the glories of Lord Balaram. If I can just ask, because I like to see who I'm speaking to, if we could ask for the devotees here to just come this way. It's hard. And if you'd like to come forward, that's also great in any way that you can. Thank you. I'd like to begin by reading a little bit from Krishna book. It's the 15th chapter of Krishna book entitled The Killing of Dhenukasura. It has a beautiful description of Vrindavan and a passage where Krishna is speaking about the glories of Lord Balaram. So I know everyone's already taken prasad, but let's see if we can keep awake through it. Krishna then spoke to his elder brother Balaram as follows. My dear brother, you are superior to us all, and your lotus feet are worshipped by the demigods. Just see how these trees, full with fruits and flowers, have bent down to worship your lotus feet. It appears that they are trying to get out of the darkness that has obliged them to accept the form of trees. Actually, the trees born in the land of Vrindavan are not ordinary entities. Having held the impersonal point of view in their past lives, they have been put into the stationary condition of life. But now they have the opportunity of seeing you in Vrindavan, and they are praying for further advancement in spiritual life through your personal association. Generally, living entities in the mode of darkness obtain the bodies of trees. The impersonalist philosophers are in that darkness, but they eradicate it by taking full advantage of your presence. I think the drones that are buzzing all around you must have been your devotees in their past lives. They cannot leave your company because no one can be a better, more affectionate master than you. You are the supreme and original personality of Godhead, and the drones are just trying to spread your glories by chanting at every moment. I think some of them must be great sages, devotees of your lordship, and they are disguising themselves in the form of drones because they are unable to give up your company even for a moment. My dear brother, you are the supreme worshipable Godhead. Just see how the peacocks are dancing before you in great ecstasy. The deer, whose behavior is just like that of the gopis, are welcoming you with the same affection. And the cuckoos who are residing in the forest are welcoming you with their joyful, sweet cries, because they consider your appearance in their home is so auspicious. Om Gyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. There is a student who connected to Krishna consciousness some years ago, and subsequently he was an artist, and he did a lot of service for us with photography and different aspects of art, and he was living in the temple for maybe 1 or 2 years. And recently we heard that he passed away. His name was Godide. We should affectionately call him Govinda. And so this last Hare Krishna, if you could just raise your hands, and if you could just dedicate, ask Lord Balaram that he could have an auspicious onward journey. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you so much. In that beautiful description of Srila Prabhupada, we see how Vrindavan is alive and how every aspect of it is full of personality and every aspect of it is worshipping Balaram. In the paragraphs that follow, Krishna says that as you are walking through the forest, Balaram, when the twigs touch your fingertips, they become alive in ecstasy. And so we see how the forest of Vrindavan is accepting Lord Balaram's appearance, and we can learn from them of how we should accept Lord Balaram's appearance today. Lord Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, and Lord Balaram is everything else. This was a quote that Vibhu Chaitanya Prabhu posted today, and it's actually a quote of Gopi Puranadhanu Prabhu. And it makes complete sense that while Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, everything else in creation, all of Krishna's energy, is Lord Balaram. And so, we've heard today in the different classes that have come about how Krishna and Balaram are the same. They're actually the same, they have the same potency, they have the same beauty, and the only difference is that they're of different color. And also one aspect that they're of a different mood, that Lord Balaram has the mood of service. So when we say that Balaram is everything else, it means that wherever there seems to be a need of Krishna, Krishna needs shoes, Krishna needs a bed, Krishna needs a mridanga for Sankirtan, Krishna needs a place that he can call home, Vrindavan. And whatever is Krishna's need, Balaram immediately manifests into it. So, therefore, Lord Balaram is the ultimate servitor of Lord Krishna, because within both the material world and the spiritual world, because again, Balaram expands within the material world into the three Vishnus that then manifest into the universe, the material creation, and then this individual universe, and then in the heart of every living entity. And Lord Balaram expands into all these forms simply to serve Krishna. So whether in the material world or in the spiritual world, Balaram takes every opportunity to serve Krishna in every way possible. Now, sometimes you get this feeling like when you have a lot on your plate that you really would like somebody to help you with it, but you know that if you just do it yourself, you'll get the best result. It's like you can ask somebody else, but they don't seem to do it like you want them to do it. Right? Anybody, is it just me? Anybody had that feeling before? You kind of have that feeling. But Krishna doesn't have to worry about that, because Krishna just then gets the other version of himself to do everything. And then it works out perfectly. So, and that's very useful for Krishna. That's very useful. And Lord Balaram is that other person. Raghunath Bhatta Prabhu was quoting a verse today that where the verse says that Balaram is Krishna's second body. Now, how much closer can you get? Balaram is Krishna's second body. And I was thinking a little bit of the question that was asked in the morning, like, why all these people? Can't we just say, this is God, this is the process, finished, why does it have to be so expansive, right? But it's a good question. And the thing is that you have a brother, and there's a relationship there. There's a certain taste, there's a certain love. And if I just said, no, you exist yourself, isn't that enough? But it's not. And that relationship has a certain taste and has a certain origin. So if we have the desire for relationship, why not God? Why can't he have relationships? Why can't he have his big brother? So just like how you want a big brother, God wants his big brother, And maybe that's complicated for our minds, but then that's your mind, So, of course, so sometimes we can look at it, we want things to be simple, and it is simple. It's simple, but it's variegated. And therefore, you can never reach the end of knowing it. Because sometimes we want to contain something, like walking around a pool. You can contain it because there's a parameter. But then try to walk around the ocean, and it gets frustrating because we can't identify it, categorize it, put it in a box and say, this is it, So Krishna consciousness is like that. We don't just worship Krishna. We worship his brother, we worship his girlfriend, we worship all the residents of Vrindavan, we worship all his expansions and all the ways that he comes into the material world. We worship all of his devotees, and we worship each other for worshiping Krishna. So every day of the week there can be a festival. And why not? Why not? Anyway, that was a side note. So Balaram is the ultimate servitor, is the ultimate servant. And that's on the appearance day of spiritual personalities, let alone the Supreme Lord, but on the appearance day of spiritual personalities, it is a day for prayer. It's a day where we come and we open our hearts. We take away, it's like every other day, all the cobwebs are there. We come in and the layers of conditioning, through layers of conditions like, right, I'm at the temple, great, the deities look nice, what's for prasadam, kind of go through it all. But on the day that it's a festival, we stop, we take stock. That sounded better. That we take stock, we see where we're at, and we approach the Lord in a prayerful mood. So Lord Balaram is the ultimate servitor. And one of the prayers that I was thinking about that relates to Lord Balaram being the ultimate servitor is this one. Dear Lord Balaram, ultimate servitor and original guru, I don't actually want to be a servant. And maybe I didn't want to before, and maybe I still don't, but you've given me devotional service. And there's nothing like it. And I want that more than I want anything else on a good day. And still, I don't want to be a servant. It's illogical, contradictory, I know. But despite this, my Lord, I know you can and will at some point take everything away from me, but never take away my service. Fill my mind, my heart, my body and soul with it, for it is my hope for selflessness. Lord Balaram is the ultimate servant, and we come here because we know, let's see, you can say, you're not this body, you're spirit soul, and you're the ultimate servant of Krishna, right? We know it. We've said it a million times. But do we want to be a servant? Do we really want to be a servant? There's so many mental hang-ups that say, no, I don't really want to. And Krishna knows that. Balaram knows that. So they trick us. They give us the service, and it's called kirtan. And it feels great. It's like, yeah, this feels nice. I like singing, I like dancing. And you don't realize that you're being a servant. And then, 10 years later, it's like, oh, I'm not sure if I want to be a servant, but service is nice. And so slowly the conditioning starts to shift. The conditioning starts to shift until one day we can accept, yes, Krishna, I want nothing else than to be your servant. And that's one thing we can take from Balaram. And of the different ways that we're able to serve Krishna, speaking about him, chanting his names, expressing his glories is one of the most powerful ways. Because especially in the age that we live in, it's the way that the heart can get instantly purified. And so therefore, Lord Balaram, he also exemplifies that. Because he expands, there's more. He expands as Ananta Shesh, right? And you can see Ananta Shesh here in the first picture with Vasudeva. All the hoods, right? But there's a few. It's actually thousands of hoods. And with all the hoods of Ananta Shesh and all the tongues, Ananta Shesh, Balaram, through the expansion of Ananta Shesh, is glorifying Krishna for eternity. And he still hasn't come to the end of Krishna's glories. How many times can you watch a movie? How many times can you read a book? How much can you speak about someone, even though they the love of your life? How long can you speak about them for? Anantashare speaks for eternity from every mouth. And so therefore, when we approach Lord Balaram, and when we attempt to glorify Krishna, we know that the mouths of Anantashare are the jewel case. It's the treasure chest. And the jewel that's in the mouths of Anantashare is the jewel of being able to understand Krishna's qualities and express them. And so today we also pray to that form of Balaram to allow us to express and also take deep within our hearts the qualities of Krishna. So the thing that I was trying to think about and meditate on is that Balaram, it feels so up there, and how does he relate to the life of a practicing sadhaka or one who is beginning a path of devotion? How does he become real to our life? He is real, but how do I make him real for me? And so the first aspect that strikes me about Balaram is how he prepares the heart. Now on the altar, when it was open, you'd have seen the cute little Balaram deity there. And in his hand, he has the plow, right? The plow. And it's said that Balaram carries that plow because with it, he plows the field of the heart. He plows the field of the heart. Balaram is preparing the heart so that the seeds of bhakti can be planted within them and that they can thrive. Now, what is this plowing? What does it mean when you say Balaram is plowing the heart? Nishingananda Prabhu today spoke so much about the service attitude of Lord Balaram and how we're meant to take that aspect of it. And that's what that plowing is about. Balaram is, through the plowing, preparing that heart by increasing our attitude of service. Even when we don't want it. Even when we think, do I have to be the one serving the prasadam? Can I just stand in the queue and pretend that there isn't just one person there and the queue is all stalled because we can't go through it fast enough? It's like, do I have to be that person? So, service attitude, what does it mean? It means the willingness, simply that, the willingness to perform service. And that is the amazing thing about Krishna consciousness. You don't have to be qualified. If you want to practice as a doctor, I heard, Swara Prabhu mentioned it in a class recently, that now the pass rate is 40%. I'm like, So knowing 40% of your medical science, you can become a practicing doctor. Yay! But you still need that degree. You still need 40%. Krishna consciousness asks for nothing. It says, here's the degree. Now you go to university. You get the degree first, and then you study. Right? Then you study. And because the qualification for service is simply that we are willing. I'm willing, Krishna, for you to use me as your instrument. Be an instrument in the fight. So therefore, because Balaram is asking for, Balaram is the example of the ultimate instrument. And what clogs the instrument? Personal desire. What decalibrates it? If anyone tried to do titrations in their life, my sympathies are with you. What messes up the experiment? It's when your instrument is not calibrated properly. And what throws that calibration off? It's our personal desire. When I say personal desire, it means desires that are misaligned with Krishna's. Doesn't mean you can't desire anything for yourself. It means that desire is misaligned with Krishna's desire. And when that happens, we don't function as a proper instrument because it's one for me, Krishna, one for you. Two for me, Krishna, half for you. And that's how it carries on, Something for me and then something for Krishna, But a properly calibrated instrument can fully function as Krishna's limb, with another brain, but Krishna's limb. Get what I'm trying to say? So therefore, Balaram is there, plowing the heart, dragging out of our heart some drop of service attitude. And why? Because Krishna, he's achyuta. He is infallible. And how is Krishna infallible? Because he never fails to recognize a little bit of tiny devotional service that a living entity executes. Every little drop he recognizes. And so there's Balaram plowing the heart to get that drop. And there's Krishna waiting for that drop so he can infallibly protect you. Because of that little service. I once had a relative who I really didn't like. They had an alcohol problem. And most of my life, we never had a relationship. And then one day, he was living with some people who were of a different faith. And he died. And there was going to be a funeral. And I thought, like, okay, I was meant to go to school, that campus that day. And I thought, all right, I'm occupied. Sorry, can't come. But then somebody said, like, no, that he wanted a Hare Krishna funeral. And I'm like, what? The amount of people that think of us when it comes to funerals. They may not think of us before, but when it comes to a funeral, we are very popular. So I was like, okay, now I've got to miss campus and programs and BYS and all important things. And I was like, I have to do this thing. For some reason, there were devotees at the temple and they said they'll come with me. We went there. There was no other priest, so we did the funeral. And I'm just like, and there we are, at the point where the body is entering into the fire. And how Hare Krishnas are. Everything is a party. It's like, Namaste Narashingaya. It's all a party, So, and I'm just sitting there thinking, how did this person get this funeral? I don't know if I'll get that funeral, Ooh, Jai Balaram. I didn't mean it. I didn't know if I would get such a funeral. But there he was, just completely, the mic still works now, completely getting like a Vaishnav send-off. And I just didn't understand why. However, a couple weeks down the line, I was in contact with his ex-wife. And she told me that when the temple was opened in Caterage, this relative of mine would come to the kitchen, cut vegetables, and bring dishcloths. Donate some dishcloths to the kitchen. I never knew this. I never heard about it, ever. And then I thought, achyuta. He never fails to see it. Even when I am the unwilling instrument, thinking that here I am, the gift to the Hare Krishna movement. And now I have to go to this funeral, which is interrupting my plans of saving the whole world through BYS. And there was Krishna who said, this is my devotee, because he came and did that 5 seconds of service. So achyuta, Balaram is there, plowing the heart to get some sort of devotional sentiment. And achyuta is there, willing to receive that sentiment. Willing to receive it. So, Balaram enters the womb of Devaki, Krishna's mother, in order to first prepare the womb before Krishna enters. Because that's what Balaram does, He makes sure that everything is ready for Krishna. And so therefore it's not surprising that we are celebrating Balaram's appearance day before Krishna's appearance day. Not just that that Balaram is elder, but before, because why? Because now our consciousness has to become like Devaki's womb. And so by meditating on Lord Balaram, we now cleanse our consciousness. So that when Janmashtami comes and it's Krishna's appearance, we're ready. We're ready to accept that that level of meditation on Krishna and his activities, because Balaram has already prepared our consciousness if we meditate in the proper way. And so Balaram, within our hearts, what is he doing there? He's plowing, but what is he plowing? This morning, Raghunath Bhattacharya was mentioning a lot about humility. And I was thinking, ego is kind of like hard ground, and you need a heavy plow to sort of crack the surface, and sort of dig under to find some fertile humility somewhere there. However, and so therefore Balaram is doing that. He's uprooting the things that's within our heart so that it can be a suitable place for Krishna to reside. And in the Balaram Stotra, which is from the Gargar Samhita, there's this 5th verse that says, "May Lord Balaram, who is the enemy of Dhenukasura, always protect me from lust. May Lord Balaram, who killed Dvivida, always protect me from anger. May Lord Balaram, who is the enemy of Balvala, always protect me from greed. May Lord Balaram, who is the enemy of Jarasandha, always protect me from illusion." So this is how we go in front of Balaram. He's not so far away. He's not so complicated. We just have to simply go in front of Balaram and say, of all the anarthas in the heart that affect the entity, anarthas being negative things that pull us down in devotional life, of all these anarthas, there's 2 that fall in the domain of Lord Balaram. And those 2 are lust and pride. And because they're in the domain of Lord Balaram, it means that there has to be a little work on our parts to also try to become free of these things. And so therefore, we can still pray. We can still pray to Lord Balaram. And if I can just get this prayer. Dear Lord Balaram, Krishna employs himself as the personal janitor of our hearts, but lust and pride fall in your domain. My Lord, whatever lust is my Lord, whatever my lust is desperately searching for, let me find that in you. My Lord, wherever my pride is blurring my vision of reality, remind me that this is for Guru and Krishna. This is not for me. Let me learn my lessons through joy so I can stand in front of you in authenticity. It is given fact that we will struggle with these things. We will struggle with lust. We will struggle with pride. But what is it? What can you do with it? One aspect is you just don't see it, Then you're kind of happy. Me? I'm fine. Krishna consciousness is just beautiful. The other aspect is when you start seeing it and then you don't know what to do with it anymore. But what else can we do but come in front of Lord Balaram and say, here it is. Here I am. And now whatever this lust is looking for, let me find it in you. And whatever trip this pride is taking me on, you bring me back from that illusion. And Lord Balaram is willing to. Sometimes all we have to do is ask. Just in asking, it's the willingness to say, the door is open, Krishna, step in. Sometimes all we have to do is ask. So we see that Balaram, and this is one of the points I wanted to focus on today, is that we know of Balaram as the giver of spiritual strength. And it's in the Bhagavatam, Prabhupada calls it Achyuta Bala. Spiritual strength or transcendental strength, or strength coming from a spiritual source. And the thing is that Bala, we know, right, that Bala means strong. It doesn't just mean that Balaram is strong, because he is, but it also means that he is the giver of strength. And there's this story, the sweet story, that happened in the Jagannath Mandir in Mayapur. Of course, we know Balaram as Krishna Balaram, but we also know Balaram as Jagannath Baladev Subhadra. That's also Balaram, like when we go on Rath Yatra. And so therefore there's these deities, these ancient deities of Jagannath, Baladev and Subhadra in Mayapur. And one day, there were some people doing some construction work. One of it happened to be a Muslim worker. And he looked on the altar and he saw the yellow one, Subhadra. The yellow one had a gold nose ring. Gold. So the work was near the altar, and so he just thought he could stretch out and grab that nose ring, because it's a very not a high up altar. You can really just reach in. It's quite close. And as he did that, the white one smacked him across the face, and he got shocked. So the next day he came with an offering of fruits and flowers for the deities. And the pujari is confused, because this is one of their Muslim workers who wouldn't necessarily be worshipping the deities, And the pujari was like, what happened? And he said, that white one, I think he's angry with me. So Balaram has strength, and his strength can go whichever way, despite which side of it we are on, But jokes aside, Balaram is the source of spiritual strength. And so therefore today is the day where we pray for spiritual strength. That's why Balaram Purnima is here. Because it's here to give us the opportunity to pray for spiritual strength. Because guess what? We need it. We need it. Because spiritual life isn't always easy. And as time goes on, it doesn't just get easier. It sometimes gets more difficult. And it's like Kadam Swami was describing how when you have a truckload of bricks that you need to offload, which brick is the heaviest? Any takers? No, not you. Which brick is the heaviest? Why? Yeah. Scientifically, they can all weigh the same. But by the time you're at the last brick, you have the weight of all the other bricks, of lifting all the other bricks on you. And so therefore, it's the heaviest. So sometimes with time, spiritual life can turn burdensome. And there's 16 rounds that you zip through for the first however many years. Suddenly it's like, do I have to put my hand in the bead bag and actually say the words? So many words. Sometimes it gets there. And it's because we are constantly challenged to make our spiritual experience fresh, to make our offerings fresh and from the heart. And stagnancy so easily develops. And so therefore we need that spiritual strength. And sometimes the problem is that we don't realize how much we need it. And what makes a great devotee great is that they realize how much they need the mercy of Lord Balaram. How much they need that shelter. And because they're aware of it, they take advantage of it. And they're able to go in front of Lord Balaram and say, please. Because we're residents of the age of Kali. And what does that mean when we are residents of the age of Kali? It means we have a birthright. And you know what's our birthright? Weakness. We are by nature weak. Just by nature. So therefore we need the mercy of Lord Balaram. That we can go in front of Balaram and say, please give me spiritual strength. So when Sri Prabhupada established ISKCON Vrindavan, he placed on the main altar which deities? No, it's easy now. Which deities on the main altar of Vrindavan? Let's hear it louder. Krishna Balaram, not Rajashama Sundar. Krishna Balaram. And they have this unique pose, right? Where Balaram is kind of chilling there on Krishna's shoulder. And it's nowhere else. Sri Prabhupada drew that with his own hands. He sketched out what the devotee should take to the people who made the deities in Jaipur. And he said he wanted it like this. That form of Krishna and Balaram didn't exist before in that sort of way. Of course, Prabhupada had seen it through some divine inspiration. But when they asked Prabhupada, why do we want Krishna and Balaram on the central altar? Prabhupada's response was, because they're none other than Gaur Nitai. There, Vrindavan is the home of Krishna. Vrindavan is the home of Sri Prabhupada. He said so, Vrindavan is my home. Vrindavan is the home of the deities. And who's on the main altar? Krishna Balaram. Why? Because they're none other than Gaur Nitai. Why? Because you ain't getting anywhere near Vrindavan. You're not sniffing Vrindavan without the mercy of Gaur Nitai. Why? Because we're residents of the age of Kali. And Gaur Nitai, they're our gateway. Our gateway in order to be able to appreciate the mercy of Vrindavan. When we enter Vrindavan, it's always through, well, now with that Yamuna road, it's not the same. But it used to be through the archway that read the Prabhupada gate. And there's no other way to enter Vrindavan but through the Prabhupada gate. And why is both the same? That we can only enter through Nityananda, we can only enter through Prabhupada? Because Balaram is Adi Guru. He is the original spiritual master. And so therefore all our spiritual teachers are in some degree expansions of Lord Balaram. Because they have the inclination to stretch their hand into the material world and pull some soul out of the ocean of birth and death. And that is the will of Lord Balaram. And so therefore, Balaram is Adi Guru, and all other spiritual masters are following that route. They represent Lord Balaram in our lives. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada said that we cannot go in any other way but through the mercy of Gaur Nitai. There's this beautiful purport in the 7th canto. Significant in this verse are the words, Jnana Sim Achyuta Bala. Jnana Sim, the sword of knowledge, is given by Krishna. And when one serves the Guru and Krishna, in order to hold the sword of Krishna's instructions, Balaram gives one strength. So it's like King Arthur. There's the sword, it's in the rock, and you can't take it out because you don't have the strength to lift it up. So great, you have a sword, all the divine knowledge is there, but you have no idea how to use it. And that's why Krishna is giving us the knowledge, but Balaram is giving us the strength to lift the sword of knowledge. Balaram gives one strength. Balaram is Nityananda. This Balaram, comes with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Both of them are so merciful that in this age of Kali, one may very easily take shelter of their lotus feet. They come especially to deliver the fallen souls of this age. Their weapon is Sankirtan, Harinam. Thus one should accept the sword of knowledge from Krishna and be strong with the mercy of Balaram. Therefore, we are worshipping Krishna Balaram in Vrindavan. So, Balaram is the giver of spiritual strength. But the question comes, how do we access the strength that Balaram gives to us? How do we access the strength that Balaram is going to shower to us? Because it's not just like, bing, spiritual strength. You kind of like you have these video games and then the character has certain power rating and it jumps over something and eats something and the power rating comes up. So like you jump over Balaram, Purnima, and suddenly your spiritual power rating just shoots up the sky. It doesn't really work like that, you know. Balaram giving us the strength to hold a sword. How does that translate into life? And Prabhupada is answering that in the purport when he says, a significant word here is Achyuta Bala. The spiritual master is certainly very merciful to his disciples, and consequently, by satisfying him, a devotee gets strength from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Guru Krishna Prasada Paya Bhakti Lata Bij. One must first please the spiritual master, and then one automatically pleases Krishna and gets the strength with which to cross the ocean of nescience. If one seriously desires to return home back to Godhead, one must therefore become strong enough by pleasing the spiritual master. For thus one gets the weapon with which to conquer the enemy, and one also gets the grace of Krishna. Simply getting the weapon of jnana is insufficient. One must sharpen the weapon by serving the spiritual master and adhering to his instructions. Then the candidate will get the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we get the strength of Balaram when we bow down, when we're humble, and when we act. It's just, humility is not just something like, I'm humble. I'm going to sit here and be humble. Like we're just going to now for the next 5 minutes practice sitting and being humble. No, actually, you know what's being humble? Getting out on that pavement, putting your feet on it, and putting a book in someone's hand when they can tell you, rip you to shreds and tell you, I don't want it. They can reject you at every moment, but you just stand there and hold the book out to the next person. That's humility. It's not the only humility, but that's what it takes. Humility is not stagnant. It means action. It means action. So how can we call ourselves? Like I always remember when I read Your Journey Home, the book by Radhanath Swami. If you haven't read it, you haven't lived. But you know, he travels and he meets all these amazing spiritual teachers, like all over the trip between America through Europe and then India. And all of them have incredible potencies and powers and mystic abilities, like, whoa, put Marvel away, you know? And suddenly he meets Prabhupada. And he just settles. It's like, I'm not moving, I'm not budging from here. Now I stay. And you know what was the one difference? The one difference? Everyone else knew about Krishna. They knew about Ram. They knew about mantra. He even got the Maha Mantra before. All of that he found in other places actually. But when he came, even some of them knew about, and then as he got closer and closer, he met people who were devoted to Lord Ram, and he got closer and closer, he met the Gaudiya Maths, you know, the followers of Bhaktisiddhanta, other followers of Bhaktisiddhanta. But then he got to Prabhupada, and he said, here I stay. Why? Because Prabhupada was the one active source that took the message and decided to go across the world to where he originally started and share it with everybody. And then Radhanath Swami, at that point, after he does that whole journey across India, he realizes, oh, I got a flyer, to attend that program that so many years ago. And like, if he had attended, he could have probably saved himself the whole journey. But like, the point is that, but not the realization, because then he could do it with realization. And the point was that because Srila Prabhupada acted, he acted on the mercy of Balaram. It doesn't just sit in you like a nice warm cup of hot chocolate. It's an active thing. We need to act on the mercy of Krishna. We need to do something. And whatever that something is, it's within our own capacity. It's within our own ability. And it's within our own unique expression that Krishna allows us to do that something. But it is our job to actually be willing to find out what that something is. Which way I'm supposed to serve Krishna. Of course, somebody can come and say, Mataji, there's no one to cook the 4 p.m. offering. It's an emergency. The deities are not going to get the offering. Please go. And he's like, well, I don't think that's the way I'm willing to serve, that I am supposed to serve Krishna today. Of course, there's a service that's needed. But there's also the service that we are meant to do out of our inspiration. And both must be there. So therefore acting. Lord Balaram's strength manifests when we bow down and when we choose to act in service. So then the last question I wanted to address is, how do we know, or how do we see Lord Balaram's gift of strength manifest in our lives? And there's one simple way: joy. We know that day when you're standing in front of Radha Radhanath and you think, oh my God, you're so gorgeous. There's this pujari on the altar and she worships little Radha Radhanath, and like the way the situation is that everybody's quite close together, and sometimes at the time when she's finished the whole worship of little Radha Radhanath, and then she does the little artik that's done inside, she can't help it, but she externally exclaims, oh my God, you're so beautiful. Although she's been the one to dress them, like all the way. She's not thinking, oh my God, I dressed you so beautifully. But literally she goes through the whole process, and at the end, she's just turning the lamp. She's like, my God, you're so beautiful. Like, she knows that actually it's not my hands that are doing it. It's a joint thing here. You're dressing yourself and I'm dressing you. There's that happening. But the idea is that moment where that spark of joy in your spiritual practice that isn't because of your own doing and never actually was. That's Lord Balaram. That joy, that bliss, that ecstasy that's experienced in Krishna consciousness, that is our security. That is our fort. That is how we know we are safe, when we are joyful on the spiritual path. And if we are not joyful on the spiritual path, then we have to ask ourselves, why? What am I doing? Of course, today Nishingananda Prabhu mentioned this beautiful point, that happiness is not the product, but the byproduct. I thought it was so brilliant, Prabhu. It's not the product. Everybody's out there trying to buy happiness, whichever form that it comes in. A new person, a new car, a new thing, a new version of myself, whichever part it is. But actually the product of happiness can't be bought. But by serving, when the product is service, then the byproduct is happiness. The byproduct of happiness is there. And that happiness is our saving grace. That happiness keeps us nourished on the spiritual path. And so, any joy that we experience on our journey is a symptom of Balaram manifesting spiritual strength in our lives. So today we turn to Lord Balaram. We turn to Lord Balaram with that prayer. It said that Balaram is like gravity. He represents the gravitational force, the pull in the universe, on earth. And sometimes it's very hard to pull the conditioning out of the conditioned soul. So we can ask Lord Balaram, just like gravity, if he can draw us to him rather than us trying to draw ourselves there. If he can act like that magnetic pole. And just like, with his plow, he can hook into things, If he can hook us onto the spiritual path. Because once we're hooked on it, and we're experiencing the joy of devotional service, then we won't go. And then we have something that we can share with others. Prabhupada said, preaching's easy. You know how? You just tell other people how happy you are. You just show other people, don't tell them. Show other people how happy you are. So if we're not happy in our devotional service, how do we do that? And yes, there's moments when we're not. The moments where we're meant to go deeper and reflect, and Krishna's asking more from us than we're willing to have given thus far. But those moments are all on the path of obtaining spiritual strength. So today being Balaram Purnima, it is our opportunity to go in front of the Lord and pray for spiritual strength, to be humble and accept the strength that He's giving us. When the instructions are there, to act on them and to see in our lives that strength manifest. And with all of that, to share it with others. Shri Balaram Purnima ki. If there's any question, I could take one quickly. And if not, then we are good. Shri Shri Krishna Balaram ki. Shri Shri Nityananda Ram ki. Shri Prabhupada ki. Nittai Gaur Premanande.